Good morning to you, and you, and you. There is a thing from my childhood, which was a few years ago. Well, not really, because I just have a continuous childhood. But there was something in my childhood. It was maybe from a cartoon or something, I don't remember, but it would say, today is, and then it would be whatever day it was, like today is Tuesday. You know what that means? And then maybe it was children that would call back, we're going to have a real good time. So it's always a possibility. I had a really good time today answering a question that arrived on a text message. Is this Roy McLean? And this is, so-and-so and so-and-so from the class of 1969, my high school graduating class. And we're reaching out about the 55-year class reunion coming up on June 8th. Please let us know if we've reached the right person and if you'd like to attend. Are you receiving our website emails about the reunion? And if not, let us know so we can add your current email address. Here's the website with the reunion information. And I actually did see that there was a reunion going on, and they almost had me, and I mentioned it in my reply to them when they mentioned the Mijares restaurant, which is really, I don't know if it still is, but in the past was one of the best Mexican restaurants I ever had the pleasure of eating at, which are many Mexican restaurants I had the pleasure of eating at, like hundreds and maybe thousands. So I responded and I said, hi, thanks for reaching out. This is Steve McLean, the current and ever-changing version of one that you might have known as Roy. Please give my regards to all my graduate comrades. It seems to me that graduating in 1969 was a pivotal time just graduating in that year. It was an interesting year to graduate high school, probably any year is. Because of my schedule of picking up sticks in the forest, because I was told that only you can prevent forest fires, I will be unable to attend the festivities, although you almost had me at Mijares. So enjoy your time together. I can't remember if I was memorable. I did love living in South Pasadena for my childhood. I loved childhood so much that I made a decision to never grow up, which I have kept, while helping to raise 7 children, 4 of whom now live in Southern California, and 1 even in Pasadena. I do appreciate each and every one of you. If the sticks in the woods were not so demanding, I would drop them and fly south from Whidbey Island and eat Mexican food. Remember Taco Treat, Papa Don's, and the Greek restaurant on Fair Oaks that made that great fried chicken. Oh, Gus's barbecue. My memory just kicked back in. Thank you, Lion's Mane mushrooms. When my firstborn left Ann Arbor, Michigan, where she never grew up and went to college, she went to do some doctoral work at USC and moved into the Palms on Meridian, or Monterey Road, the exact apartment where I used to watch soap operas after school with Herb Schnetzel's girlfriend, Ellen. Sigh. Were we there for 1,000,000 years? I do believe we were. Continue to have fun, never grow up or out, never act your age, and always remember to keep breathing. Thanks for jogging my memory and for continuing to gather in the best little town on earth, even though Buster's Coffee changed hands. and I'm certain other things have changed. My best to all of you, minus Jim Stemler, who passed away a couple years ago, who was quite a character. And hopefully Oliver Shorthose as well, and I bet Tim Stimfel, coach, will be there, and Richard Polacco, and on and on. So hopefully these people may have some memory of me being in the school. I don't remember myself being memorable, but I might have been for some people. I still have friends from high school, but most of my friends from high school were actually a little younger than me and really into music. So most of the people I hung out with in high school were people that were interested in playing music. I was interested in playing music, I just wasn't very good at it. But I still did it, even though I wasn't good. So that's it. That was, I thought, my opportunity to entertain, start off with a little bit of entertainment. And so today is Tuesday, May 14th. I'm just checking to make sure. And today, the energetics, according to the Mayan calendar, are related to the solar plexus chakra. And I think when they talk about the solar plexus chakra, they're probably talking about what in other views of chakras is the pancreatic chakra, but whatever. And today is a white spectral Worldbridger. And the words are guided by death. And so we're going to just start off with Spectral, which is tone 11. So this is the second time. So this month is the spectral tone of liberation. So it's the 11th month. So this is the tones change every 13 days. So this is the second spectral day of the 11th month. So it's this 11th tone of the 11th month, 11th lunar month, spectral month of liberation. And this is the second time the 11th tone. So it's kind of like 1111, which is supposedly the number of awakening. So, it's all made up. But some of it's kind of fun. And you can repeat it as long as you know that it's all made up. Just go ahead and repeat it if you want to. If you think that it will help people to change, which is all healing is change. And so if people change, they're healing. Even maybe if they die, which is what today is about. So I'm just going to talk about spectral tone 11. So there's 13 lunar tones. So every day is a progression through the 13 tones. Tone 11 is spectral lunar tone, spectral tone. And it's about dissolving, releasing, and liberating. So 11 represents the dynamic of dissonance, accounting for randomness and non-stability. I think that's enough. Yeah. And we're going right on to the white Worldbridger. So I'm just going to make sure, because I know it was only moments ago that I looked at it, but I'm going to look back again at it. And I'm going to make sure that, yes, today is white Worldbridger. I don't want to be confusing you by reading you the wrong words for today. So the white Worldbridger, white relates to the north. Even though today it's a solar plexus chakra day, overall the white Worldbridger relates to the throat, which has to do with grief. And it makes sense that the white Worldbridger, which is the one that kind of is aware of that world between worlds and is a Worldbridger. And I actually gave a talk about how I felt like I had one foot in the old world and one foot in the new world, but I wasn't in either of those worlds. I actually went into the new world quite thoroughly yesterday during a really fascinating session I had with one of my favorite people. I have a number of favorite peoples, but this is one of my favorite people, and we just did some amazing work in the world yesterday. I think it was. It was Monday. Okay, so the White Worldbridger is about, it says, equalizes death and opportunity. And so the saying is from the Maori people, who might have been New Zealand, Australia, I think maybe New Zealand, the Maori people. And their saying is, you were, you will be. Know this while you are. Your spirit has traveled both long and afar. It rose from the source. To the source it returns. The spark which was lighted eternally burns. And sorry if you feel like you're on a ship and you're rocking a little bit, but I decided to put this up higher so I don't have to look quite as far down to see the words. The spark which was lighted eternally burns. Worldbridger represents revelation, realization of the mortality of the physical body, the organic balance of life and death, the realm of neutrality which facilitates bridging and connection. Intimate exchange with the spirit of the ancestors. That's always a lovely topic to me. The intimate exchange with the spirit of the ancestors. As a force of equalization, the inevitability of death humbles us all. As we contemplate how all things have an eventual ending, we are drawn into the richness of the now with the perception that death equals opportunity. We find a sacred key that speaks not only of our imminent passing beyond this physical body, but also in regards to ego death. Interesting subject, ego death. I don't really know too much about it, even though I've talked about it with friends for years, but I don't have anything to say, so I'll just read from this. By continually shedding what no longer serves, we learn to yield to death as a natural overturning of cyclical processes. So just for me, I think they're just talking about the ego death as a continual process. This no longer serves. This no longer serves. So those are deaths, the things that we release, that we identified ourselves with, like even the name Roy. So I believe when I was in first grade, there were 7 Steves. I could name a whole bunch of them. And maybe there were at the most 15 boys and 15 girls, something like that. So for half of them, almost half of them, to be named Steve, and it probably was more like 28 kids in the classroom, and so probably it was 14 boys and 14 girls, roughly, and so of the 14 boys, 7 of them were named Steve. So when they ran out of Steve, Stevie, Stephen, they got to me and they said, "What's your middle name?" Roy, and then I was Roy. And so I was Roy until I was like 19, and I just got away and just could go by my first name, which was Steve. So I've been Steve for 50 plus years, 55 years I've been Steve, but for 18 years or so I was Roy. So for me, I'm no longer Roy. It's a middle name of mine. But to have someone, is this Roy McLean? And it's like, well, it was Roy McLean. I don't identify as Roy McLean, but I understand that anybody who hasn't seen me since high school would still be identifying me as Roy McLean. And it's interesting, if I did go, and so the thing that would make me hesitate from going, besides not liking to leave the island, but the thing that would hesitate from having me go would be the expense of the trip. Because I just got a bid for taking some of the branches off the forest surrounding the house, and it seemed very reasonable for, bringing in however many, 6 people, multiple trucks, chippers, how many chainsaws, like things that lift people up in the air in a little cart and take them over to limbs, and how those limbs are heavy and all of that stuff. So that's expensive. So my thinking of flying down to South Pasadena, where am I going to stay? I don't really feel like couch crashing. I don't feel like an Airbnb. I don't necessarily feel like staying in some hotel for a number of days, and the expense of that, where I'm thinking about, like paying for these trees to be kind of just cleaned up a little bit and make our house less like a bomb shelter. When these giant limbs snap off these trees, which they do on a regular basis, and crash down on the carport, my thought is always like, when's one going to come down on end and just go through the car? So I'm trying not to hold that picture, although I'll mention it to you if it ever does happen. So anyway, I'm thinking I'm not going down to South Pasadena for a high school reunion, although I mention a number of people that may possibly go. I mean, because they're all still friends with each other. I'm still friends with them. I was more friends with them when I was on Facebook. Well, I was still on Facebook, and I would actually interact with some of these people sometimes. And I liked them all from high school, and I continue to like them. All right, that was Exchange with the Spirit of the Ancestors. Okay. So as a force of equalization, the inevitability of death humbles us all, and as we contemplate how all things have an eventual ending, we are drawn into the richness of the now. With the perception that death equals opportunity, we find a sacred key that speaks not only of our imminent passing beyond this physical body, but also in regards to ego death, by continually shedding what no longer serves. This is brilliant. We learn to yield to death, to the death of the ego, as a natural overturning of cyclical processes, releasing identities and surrendering attachments, grants us access to new worlds. Worldbridger asks, what within your life is asking to be let go of or ended, to make way for a new cycle to begin? What is discovered when you contemplate our human mortality? How can we overcome fear of death and find trust in the journey of life? So just overcome the fear of death. Let go of the fear of death so we can be really present for the journey of life. Great question from my perspective. How can we honor the reality of death in all its facets as a sacred ally of life? Death as a sacred ally. This is really opening some things up from my perspective, because I feel like this is a time when the separation between our perception of self as the conscious being. Better move that arrow because when the screen goes off, and I don't know how to change that, so I'm not going to. But this is a time where the separation, so let's see, if you have the on one side the rational conscious mind, and on the other side the unconscious mind, the sleep mind, and between them is a space of overlap. But I think what has happened to us in our life is we have put up a border wall between our conscious and our unconscious. And so we've actually separated them due to maybe a lack of trust in the unconscious and the scariness maybe of the unconscious. So we find ourselves going more into the unconscious in the dream world. And we're kind of helping ourselves in the awake world through the dream world by working a whole bunch of scenarios to find ways to deal with whatever it is that's going on with us now. And what I see happening is I see that we're getting this area, we're getting this space of the conscious and the unconscious worlds back. People talk about it as the Vesica Pisces, I think, the overlap of the conscious. And it may be at a certain point the conscious and the unconscious will merge as one mind. And it feels like that's happening. And that may be the world we're moving out of is the world of separation of the conscious and unconscious mind. And the world we're moving into is the world of the oneness of the conscious and unconscious mind. That really feels accurate to me. That's my vision, is I'm going to be living in a world where my conscious and unconscious are communicating, and maybe even I won't even hear it as voices inside my head. There'll just be this knowing. So there won't have to be a lot of discussion. I think there has to be a lot of discussion, or can be a lot of discussion. Doesn't have to be, but there can be a lot of discussion inside our head when we're trying to figure out how to shift our interactions with others so we aren't continually producing the same result in a relationship. So don't we all, and I'm asking this question, don't we all want our relationships to change in a way that is expansive? That means that we can expand, we can get bigger, our awareness of ourselves can get larger, and still include those intimate relationships we have without necessarily disturbing those relationships. So can we get bigger? Can we enlarge our perception of ourselves? Maybe our thought forms, matrices about who we are. Are we a person that grows up? Are we a person that chose not to grow up? Can we act as functional people in the world without feeling like we're an old person? And what does it mean to be an old person? And we may have thought forms of what it means to be an old person, and then we fit into those thought forms, where they're just kind of like we're projecting the future in the moment when we talk about who we are, who we're not. Well, I'm not a person that does that. Well, I'm not a person that does this. Well, I'm a person that thinks this. Well, I feel like I'm right about this, so I'm going to continue to think this way because I feel right about it, and feeling right about it makes me feel good about myself, and feeling wrong about something makes me feel bad about myself, so I always want to be right, so I'm going to tell you why I'm right, and I'm going to tell you over and over and over again. I think the term might be ad nauseum. George just being sick of hearing it. And are you ever sick of hearing yourself repeat some unresolved story again? As a means of, you meet some new person and you tell them one of your stories. Now, some stories are just entertaining and you like telling them, and fine, if it entertains others. But if you're with a person for an extended period of time, like say a life partner, a co-housing unit, but however you want to put it, significant other, and they have to listen to those stories time and time again, and especially if they didn't even find it that entertaining the first time they heard it, and now they're hearing it for the 376th time about the death of your parakeet or whatever, it is possibly time to live a story, to live new stories. I could go back to my high school reunion. I would see people that I have warm feelings for, because I have warm feelings for a large percentage of the people that have been in my life. And I can even have warm feelings for people that I didn't have warm feelings for before. I can have warm feelings for them now, because we can all change in that way if we choose to. And if it seems like the right thing to do for us, we can actually change. What a concept. All right, let's see if there's a way to end this. I'm going to read this again. How can we honor the reality of death in all its facets as a sacred ally of life? Let us welcome the power of death to liberate us from self-defeating habits, fears, and limitations. It's beautiful. I'm going to listen to this video a number of times. A succinct mantra for aligning with Worldbridger power is, I surrender to opportunity. When you know that you are only wearing the body, which can be destroyed, that you are the reality which activates the body and cannot be destroyed, how can you be afraid? And that was written by the Peace Pilgrim. And if you're not familiar with the Peace Pilgrim, I suggest you look her up. And she wrote a book about her pilgrimage, and one lovely human being. I never met her personally, but through her words, I had a sense of the loveliness of this human being. So I think this will be it's got to be over 20 minutes, 28 minutes, so I got to click pretty quick to keep it under 30. But this will be our Mayan calendar reading for the day. And sorry about the hair. It's going to be cut today, so in the next video, you'll see, I'll give myself another Beverly Hills haircut, just because I'm on the news. I'm on the daily news now. Gotta look like I care, which I do. Hopefully I look like I care. All right, that's it. Now I must go. A pleasure once again.